Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam and this is a sponsored video. Who's sponsoring it? Well, you'll have to find out. But today we are mainly here to examine the sheer ferocity of information dumpage contained within the latest set of the One Piece Vivia Card data book. And I know words like information, data, and book, they're also, they can sound quite boring. But just in case you're new to these little things, they actually contain some incredibly important facts about One Piece that, for whatever reason, are never revealed within the series itself. Stuff like bounties and devil fruits and weird things about various catmen, all of which we now have at our disposal here today. For example, did you know that Onimaru is 69 years old, which is a very salacious age for a fox? But rather hilariously, that makes Onimaru 1 year older than Big Mom, meaning that he is the senpai and she is the semla. But these Vivia cards primarily cover the top members of the Beast Pirates, so Kaido, Jack, Queen, King, and the Tobiropo, as well as the worst generation members currently on Wano. Which is weird because this is now like the fourth Vivia card that Luffy has specifically, with no new information on it, mind you. But hey, it's all good because at the very least he looks amazing. Which is a smooth transition now, because also amazing is the sponsor of this video, Mech Arena. A casual mobile shooter great for doing all sorts of digital pew-pew activities and blowing off some steam. You just hop in, cause untold mayhem for a handful of minutes and stroll on out. Absolutely anyone can play and you don't need to be crazy good to have some fun. The particular mechs I enjoy would be this bad boy here, Killshot, primarily because he is a unicycle, which also happens to make him the fastest mech in the game thing, with an ability to put that speed into a dash that deals massive damage. Meanwhile, we also have the Guardian, who, quite contrary to its name, is all about destroying things, tearing down defenses and blowing things up. It doesn't guard you so much as it safeguards the bitter defeat of your various enemies. Plus, Mech Arena has awesome in-game events, as well as a great login rewards program, which you definitely will not want to miss out on. It's completely free to play on Android or iOS right now, and you can use my link in the description or scan my QR code to get 1 black carbon skin, 300 A coins, and 50,000 credits to help kickstart your game. And if you're quick, you can add me to friends as Grand Line Guy and we can play matches together. So don't wait around. And I won't, because we're going to start talking about Vivia cards. And we shall commence with the one and only King. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't say one and only, because if there's anything that One Piece has practically an infinite amount of, is definitely kings. So we will begin with the one of many, King. But we have several pretty massive reveals with Mr. King, starting with his bounty, which we've been waiting for quite some time, but King is worth a whopping 1.39 billion berries, which actually isn't all that much more than Queen, who is worth 1.32. Only 70 million berries, so that's like the equivalent of one crab hand gyro between them, who, if you don't remember, was the guy who literally had this prosthetic crab hand grafted onto his arm. He's not a fishman, but he's certainly trying very hard to be one. Back to King though, I can't help but feel slightly underwhelmed with his bounty, and it's entirely due to my own expectations, to be fair. In my mind brain, I thought there was a reason why Oda purposely kept King's bounty hidden, because he revealed Jack and Queen's bounty ever so casually, so it felt to me like there might be some more significance hiding behind King. But as it turns out, no, I guess that just wasn't really an appropriate place to put it. This also happens to make King, as of right now, the 8th most valuable character in the series, right in front of Marco and right behind Luffy. And rather unfortunately, this does knock Katakuri out of the top 10. Moreover, we have some history for Mr. King. It would seem that King joined Kaido's crew because he was enamored by raw strength. So King didn't join out of fear like most characters do. It was pure inspiration. And according to the card timeline, King also accompanied Kaido to fight against the Whitebeard pirates 2 years ago, but was stopped by Shanks and the Red Hair pirates. And the only reason why I find this interesting is because the same thing was not said for Jack and Queen, implying that they were left behind on Wano or were busy elsewhere at the time, which I have to say would be a pretty ballsy maneuver by Kaido, effectively stating to Whitebeard, I don't even need my full forces to take you on, old man. And finally for King, we also have a rather hilarious alternate design option, and I'm kind of surprised that Oda didn't go with it. Usually he starts off with the suave and cool design and talks himself into making the character look significantly more wacky. I guess with King, he just really wanted to nail that sense of, hey, you should take me seriously. Although I personally find that very hard to do when you are dressed like a gimp. Moving to the lower realms now, these Vivia cards also quite casually reveal the bounties of the Tobiropo, some of which are very surprising. So we'll go lowest to highest, and the lowest is still currently Diaz Drake. He still has his pre-time skip bounty of 222 million berries, although surely you would assume that it must be higher by now, and that Oda is just keeping this a secret for honestly probably no good reason. But next up is Page 1, who holds a mighty 290 million berries, and that's about what I'd expect of him, I think. Honestly, it might even be a tad too high. Someone who completely shattered my expectations though is Ulti, whose bounty is a nice round 400 million berries. This is an absolutely huge amount and a big step up from page 1. Deservedly so though, as us manga reading people will know. Taking another step up, we then land on Sasaki with 472 million berries. That's pretty impressive, but from there we move to Black Maria, who is worth a whopping 480 million berries. And legit, this feels a little bit high with what we may or may not know about her now. And just to put that into some perspective, 480 million berries is the exact number that Edward Weaver was worth before he became a warlord. So look, Black Maria, I just don't see the equivalent threat there. Now, obviously that leaves us with but one member, meaning that our most valuable of Tobiropo people is Who's Who has a bounty of 546 million berries. Big number, yes. Just 4 million berries away from Ace's bounty actually, which I think is pretty bang on considering who he ends up fighting against. Now on the Tobiropo cards, it is confirmed that they're all users of Observation and Armament Haki, which does answer a question that I had in my weekly chapter reviews. And look, I don't want to sound too negative because that's bleh, but with that in mind, I do think that certain Tobiropo members were quite a bit undercooked in this whole raid business, and I'll just leave it at that for now. Fun thing though, there were also some alternate designs featured for page 1, who went through periods of both looking way cooler and also way uncooler. Plus at one point it looks like he may have even been much smaller, almost like a childlike character. But whatever the case, I think what we landed on was a pretty good middle ground of everything. Meanwhile, none of the Tobiropo have particularly interesting origins, with the sole exception of Black Maria. Her card very specifically states that she is from Wano, meaning that she would have been born on the island and one of the Wano citizens who chose to side with Kaido. And that makes me wonder if she's part of a family, like if she might be on a Kurozumi Black Maria, or Kurozumi Maria, get rid of the black part entirely. I mean, Kura does quite literally mean black, but I'm just making crap up here. But at the time of Kaido's occupation, she would have been a mere 9 years old. To the worst generation now, and we have an intriguing development with one Scratch Menapu, which is that we finally have a name for his weird musical fruit, and it's called the Oto Otonomi. Oto quite literally means sound, and for a bonus Japanese fun fact thing, the kanji for Oto also makes up part of the word for music, being ongaku. So we're now starting to make some sense of the fruit, because if the idea behind it is simply to create sounds, then it may not necessarily be specifically musically based. It may just allow Apu to create sound, and he chooses to do that by manipulating his body into musical instruments. I don't know though, it's one of those weird fruits like the Buki Buki no Mi, where advanced man-made objects get brought into our world of magic consumables. Speaking of devil fruits though, and this is infinitely more interesting to me, but we now have an answer for Onimaru's general existence. Not only is he a 69-year-old fox, but he is a 69-year-old fox with a mythical devil fruit. It's called the Hito Hito no Mi model Onyudo. And an Onyudo is essentially a Japanese monk demon thing who is depicted in this image as blowing up someone's butt, which is just, I mean, it's classic Japanese mythology. And to be fair, the guy seems to be greatly enjoying it, so, you know, to each their own. But also the Onyudo have been well documented in mythology as sometimes being foxes in disguise. So it makes plenty of weird sense, and that's how Onimaru can transform into Gyukimaru. But holy crap, we are just continuously adding to the insane pile of devil fruits on Wano. And not only that, but like really amazing devil fruits as well. This is a mythical Zoan in the hands, or I guess in the claws, of one random fox boy. And I'm still really hoping there's some sort of explanation for why there are such a critical mass of devil fruits on Wano that weren't brought in by Kaido, especially considering that the citizens of Wano seem to know nothing about devil fruits at all, despite the fact that like roughly half of them are fruit users. Interesting little fact, or lack of fact now, Luffy wasn't the only Straw Hat to get a new Vivia card printed, because we also have one for Zoro. Although on the card it does not, I repeat does not, state that he is a user of Conqueror's Haki, which legit probably would have been the only reason to reprint his card at all, because that's an actual development that's happened since his last one. I have no idea why that is. All I know is that with all of the other relevant characters, this is confirmed on their cards, including Eustace Kid. In some rather weird news now, for part of this set we have the Vivia cards for Kyoshiro and Komurasaki, not Denjiro and Hiyori, Kyoshiro and Komurasaki. It's very particular about them being Kyoshiro and Komurasaki, even though they do spell Kyoshiro wrong on his card. But I guess according to this card, he is now Kyosuro. So look, I don't want to go all conspiracy theory here and state there's some sort of grand story, plot, narrative, something element behind why their aliases have their own Vivia cards, because both Denjiro and Hiyori had Vivia cards printed in the previous set, said, which was only a couple of months ago, mind you. So I don't know, make of this what you will. It could be a grand conspiracy, or it could be an issue of the producers thinking, we need some more cards to fill this set. We've already reprinted 2 straw hats without adding new information, and we're all out of ideas. But one of the most intriguing cards of all is, of course, Yamato. And just as a warning for literally everyone here, we are going to talk a little bit about gender, but before we do, here is some fun stuff. Yamato's favorite food is Odin, which is adorable, but we also have a ton of other alternate Yamato designs on the back, including this really wacky one. You know what I mean? Sometimes Oda will just draw a super cool character design, but then he'll just say to himself, but what if I ruined this character for the lols? And a lot of the time those lol designs do actually make it into the series, but otherwise Yamato's design seems to have been fairly consistent across this whole process, and at one point there does seem to have been a much more stereotypical Oda princess style in mind, which I am incredibly glad that he didn't go for. However, the most intriguing thing about Yamato's card to me is the birthplace. Yamato's origin is, quote, uncertain. What the crap does that mean? I've spoken a lot about secrets in this video, but this could actually be a big one. I don't see a whole lot of reason to keep Yamato's origin as a big question mark, unless there's something worth knowing here that may be important to the story later down the line. Like if, for example, after Wano, Yamato just said, oh yeah, so I was born on God Valley. Except obviously not God Valley because Yamato wouldn't be old enough, but you know, like something along those lines. All right, let's do it though. Gender. Yamato's gender has been a very contentious discussion ever since the character was introduced, and I generally try to stay out of it and just say Yamato instead of he or she. This Vivia card does, however, state that Yamato is female, and that is relevant because trans characters in the series do have their preferred genders stated on these cards. Kiku, for example, is identified as male with a female heart, which is the Japanese idiom for trans, and Morley's card would be another example of this. The gender is stated as male with a female heart. Yamato's card does not have that distinction, it just flat out says female, so take that for what you will. But I have to say, I don't think that my voice is the best place to render a verdict on this discussion, so instead I'm going to leave a link in the description to a rather lengthy Reddit post made by a trans person on the whole Yamato situation, and I think it quite comprehensively addresses all sides of the Yamato issue in a very insightful way. And I don't know if this is being too optimistic, but I very much hope that we can all come together and just get back to enjoying some delightful One Piece. Starting out with this video, ideally, it has more of that thing that you like, which I think is One Piece, because there's always more to learn, explore, and experience with this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.